Welcome to the Ladies Talk Show. This is your host, Leah Richheimer. We are so fortunate. We have Sara Chana Radcliffe here with us today, and we are over the top. I'm so excited. We're going to cover some very, very deep topics today, and we're going to start off with the first question, which is, what are some of the common, or maybe one of the most common things you're seeing that leads to a woman's unhappiness in marriage? We go deep really quick. Welcome aboard. I didn't even welcome you. I'm so excited to get started. Okay.
Oh, my pleasure.
Okay.
Yeah, okay, this is a great question. What I see is that a lot of people have false images of marriage, really false, so false, like they're based on Walt Disney or something, where the prince and princess the prince and princess go off into the distance to have their happy life. Okay, so they the very often a person thinks that marriage is supposed to be a happy life. Like you get married, and if everything was good, then you should be happy from then on. Okay. That is such a false premise to me. And then when you're not happy, you think, oh, there's something wrong with my marriage. Everybody else is happy. I see them at all the simchas. They're smiling. They all look great. I see them at the family dinner. All the other couples in the family they get along so well. Or on Facebook, I saw them, it was their anniversary, they looked amazing, so the problem is that we take that back and we say like, oh, my spouse, my marriage, my situation, it's dysfunctional, it's crazy, it's wrong, it's bad, and everybody else has it right. Okay, that starts us down a very dark road. Okay. So if we could understand that, no, those smiling people, they're not having an easy time. It's not possible to have an easy time in marriage, just like it's not possible, let's say, to have an easy time in parenting or have an easy journey in life. No problems, no issues, nobody ever died, nobody got sick, nothing ever went wrong, no child ever didn't go to bed, it's not. Hashem put us in the world with packages of challenges that we need to work through in order to develop our soul, and also strengths and resources, tools with which to negotiate those challenges. And where everything is perfectly matched within a person. And we have to understand that everybody puts on a great show in public unless they're pretty dysfunctional themselves. You know what I'm saying? Like they're able to look good in pictures or something, look okay at the family table. Like most people can carry this off. It does not mean that they don't have serious issues. I can say this as a marriage counselor dealing with people who look very normal in the world, right? They're presenting very well. But, behind closed doors, and very, very closed doors, maybe even their children don't know the disasters that are going on behind the scenes. So I want to get over this silly idea that challenge is not a part of marriage. Challenge is a part of marriage very often from, right after the chuppah, or sometimes maybe wait till Sheva Brachos is ended, and then it starts to, the fun starts, the negotiation starts.
What is the method of removing these illusions? I mean, if you say you have illusions, like, oh, okay, thank you. I mean, what's the mechanism for getting on the other side of them, or having them not affect your perfectionism, perfectionist tendencies to want your husband to be a certain way or perfect, or how you envisioned him? What's the technique?
Okay, so once we decide that marriage was not, other people's marriages are not perfect, and that's a very important first step. Okay, it's not like that guy is so much better. He's the perfect one. Look, he takes the garbage out. I see him, on Tuesdays and Thursdays or something. Like, look at that guy. He's perfect. We want to get rid of that and say he's good at taking out the garbage on Tuesdays and Thursdays, but believe me, you don't know what he's not perfect at. Okay, so we want to grow up in that sense and to understand that your neighbor, your sister, your sister-in-law, whatever it is, your cousins, all those people at shul, whatever, they are struggling with something. You have to buy into that, okay? And then once you understand that, you need to kind of review the menu of what people could be struggling with, because that will help you with what you're struggling with. For example, you may be struggling with a very difficult thing, like a partner who's suffering from some addiction, or a partner who is really struggling with making a living, or a partner who he has, very severe social skills, just can't, appear normal in public, or a partner who's cheating on you, or a partner who's on his way to prison. These are issues that people are dealing with somewhere. And you might say, once you reflect on, well, thank God, it's not that, okay? Like, my partner just doesn't get it when I tell him I've had a hard day. So, okay, now we're in the normal realm because in general, partners have some strengths and some weaknesses. So his forte is not in the language department. Maybe it's in the money department. Maybe this guy makes a great living, but he just doesn't get your feelings at all. And now we, in our generation, actually want everything. We want a guy who gets our feelings, who makes a lot of money, who's got good status in the community, he's spiritually elevated, and so on. Like we have like a long list. And for sure, he's got to fail somewhere, like we're not even looking at ourselves. I don't know if we should consider ourselves, like never mind us. But so we want to say, okay, first of all, there's a menu of flaws that people have. And I'll just take a very painful one. Let's say the husband is, he's had some affair, okay, and this has come to the surface. That's a very hard thing that you would not be the only woman dealing with, okay? It's not true that there's like nobody except you who has a very difficult challenge going on, okay? So you want to know that even with that situation, so we've got two possibilities. Either it's, thank goodness I don't have that situation, or it's, I do have that situation. And I'm not the only one who has that situation, because in fact, it's a much more common situation than you would think. Okay, like all the things that could go wrong, as it says, there's nothing new under the sun. There's all people have to deal with some things. And oddly enough, even a person who has done, let's say, something very serious in the way of marital problem behaviors, even that person is not black and white, as like they did nothing else. That same person may be the one who understands your feelings sometimes, or the one who makes a lot of money and who has spiritual status and who's a great father and just fell into a very dark spot temporarily, and you're going to maybe work with that because Hashem has foisted it upon you as the challenge that you have to work with. You didn't choose it. That comes to you, and life is serious with really, like, again, altogether, we have to get out of the party mode and understand, like, life is serious and there are things that we have to deal with, and Hashem will help us deal with them. So the marriage isn't necessarily over because of that. It may be a period of work and everything that has to be done, and then, things can move forward. So then we have to work on our faith and our strength and, cry out to Hashem and blah, 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 everything that's called for during very difficult situations. So I think there's just this realism that we want to bring in, maybe by reading books. Maybe somebody's written some books about other situations, maybe expand your horizons. But for sure, we have to do something to shake ourselves up, that the difficulty that we might face is what's going to bring out the greatness of our soul, that it's there for that purpose, not to crush us, not to demolish us, not to ruin our lives, but to somehow help us on the short journey that we're on in this place. It requires a very big picture of what we're here for. Okay? We weren't here for the good time or to look good or to impress other people. We're here to do spiritual work, and challenges make us do spiritual work. So that's one part of it. And the other part of it is to realize, if you don't have those big challenges, that the small challenges need to be put in their right place and to just focus out. So much has to do with appreciating what God has given us rather than complaining, which we learn from the Torah. Hashem doesn't like that. Okay, this is missing and that's wrong and the other thing's wrong. But we get our eyes off of that stuff and put our eyes on what is right. The other thing is to understand that our spouse wasn't put here to make us happy. Okay, we're here, like I don't know if I said this here before, but like marriage is, or life, your life is like a cake. Okay, so you're baking your cake, you're putting the thoughts into your head, you're associating with the people, you're listening to the right things, you're doing things, you're making your life, and that is your cake. And your spouse is icing on your cake. He didn't come to make your life, and he's not robbing you of your life either. He's not making you miserable. Unless, heaven forbid, he's beating you up every night, then yeah, he's making you miserable. So you're going to do something about that. But for the regular deficits that spouses have, He's not ruining your life. You need to focus on making your life what it should be and enjoying that icing because he's adding, even if he's adding, just taking that garbage out, he's adding to your life. So we need the correct perspective that it's not up to him how happy we're going to be. And the funny thing is, if we're happy, if we've made our life, we have good relationships that we're, maybe we've made friendships, maybe we have healthy relationships with our kids, maybe we enjoy our parenting, maybe we love our job, maybe we're involved in meaningful charitable activities or other spiritual activities, and we enjoy our life and we're happy. The chances of that impacting our marriage in a good way is very high, whereas our misery and our victimhood, kind of like, oh, like, I don't know, that just is almost guaranteed to bring the marriage down. So these big pictures, ask me some questions about
Okay,
this.
yeah. I had two questions for you. One is I have a lot of people tell me, Leah, you're talking about being accepting of your life, but they're like, Leah, I didn't sign up for this. I
Yeah,
didn't
yeah,
sign up for this,
yeah.
So I want your answer to that. Actually, answer that first, and then I'll ask the next
Yeah.
question.
No, we definitely do not sign up to it because we wouldn't have designed this world with war, with spouses who betray us, with illness, with difficult, struggling children, whatever it is, we wouldn't have designed any pain within this world. So that's correct. We did not sign up for this, except it says somewhere in Shemaim that we went before our souls came down. Hashem said, "Yes, you did. You signed right on the dotted line. You said it was going to be easy
But how does
schmeezy,
a
and you wanted to
person,
just be
how do
there."
they deal with it?
Yeah.
How do you process that? You were talking about how this is the what is go wake up, sort of mature, grow yourself into the kind of person who accepts this is what God gave me for his specific reasons that I don't understand. And the images we have in our head of what it should look like and what other people look like. But how do we make how do we walk the road of I didn't sign up for this. How do we get ourselves to the mental mindset to be
All these
accepted?
concepts work together because if we look at our suffering as uniquely unfair, which a lot of people do, it's like everybody has whatever, but I don't. So that ties into the first thing I said. It's like, it's not true. You're working on a fallacy. You have no idea what other people are dealing with. There is pain in marriage. Now, somebody somewhere has a pretty easy marriage, but that's in a tiny percentage of people. Like somebody somewhere, I don't know, everything fell into their lap about everything. I don't know. Like, that for the average person, okay, marriage, parenting, parnassa, making a living, all of these things present great challenges, even just being physically healthy or whatever. Like, somebody somewhere is never mind. We have to buy into that concept first, that what it looks like to you that everybody has it better than you is a lie. You have to get over that, okay? And that will make it a little bit easier for you to say, okay, which unique challenge did Hashem give me? And not to assume that you got the worst deal because your husband makes bad jokes in public. It's so embarrassing to go out with him. And this is something that you can't stand. Well, Hashem knows you can't stand that. That's why he gave you that one. Okay?
Wow.
Because there are people who are not bothered by, oh, he's so silly. I find it adorable that his jokes are so awful. Somebody might be like that, but you're turning shades of purple and everything else because your husband, makes bad jokes. Hashem knows that. That's why he gave you that guy. Okay.
And so how does the person deal with what do they do? They're sitting there in the room and they're three shades of purple. How do they how do they elevate their own mental attitude about it?
Very
Accomplish
good.
that challenge, basically.
Right. So we have this spiritual perspective that we're working with, and we're saying, Hashem, why would you give me this man? You know how sensitive I am. Okay, that's the conversation we have with Hashem. And if you listen, you'll get the answers like, I know how sensitive you are. That's why I gave you this man. You have some work to do here. Well, what kind of work? What kind of work should I do? Okay. So now, we're going to have to reach so deep to be able to accept that this guy's bad jokes are not the end of the world. Okay. We're going to, in other words, it's not that embarrassing that we have that Hashem is with us. We're going to have to work really very, very hard on us because of that sensitivity we had to public embarrassment to come to a point 20 years later, 25 years later, I don't know how long it's going to take, to where we go like, yeah, he makes those jokes. He's always been like that. We're going to have to do the work. And the work is going to involve an expansion of our soul, where we get a better perspective of what matters and what doesn't matter, and who we are and who that man is, and what a soul is, and what this marriage is, and what's really important. So, and we're not going to stop suffering until we've done the work. So that's what it's all for.
Fantastic. I totally hear it. What advice would you give to women who are, they're on the pathway, they've heard what you've said, they're starting to work or whatever, and there's a certain amount of healing that needs to take place, either from their past childhood or from their marriage or whatever. What advice can you give women on how to get on the road to healing resentments, angers, upsets from the past?
I mean, sometimes a good therapist will help along with that, but even a therapist is only with you 1 hour a week. It's like,
Mhm.
there's the attitude that we have towards ourselves. Now, the self is made up of a lot of different inner personalities. Just think of it as a bus, okay, with a lot of passengers on it. And we like an adult part to be in the driver's seat of the bus, because that part can then, steer the steering wheel, read a map, and reach the gas and the brake and everything. Now that adult part, we want a compassionate, wise adult to be in the driver's seat and to help the other parts of us, because our child parts, first of all, may hold trauma from the past, where our spouse's current behavior, let's say he yells a bit too loud. He yells at the kids, okay? But we came from an abusive home where the father was very abusive, and that yelling shakes our nervous system. Now, it may be very useful to get that shaking out, which can be done in today's modern trauma therapies, But even so, let's say we've done that work, but still it's something that bothers us. I mean, and we've taken the guy for parent education counseling and so on, but still he's just not that tender little father that we wanted him to be. And the pain is there. Even after we've done our work, there's still pain and disappointment about that. So, but he's not a horrible parent, but it's just that really
A
gets to us.
trigger. It's basically a trigger.
Triggers it.
Yeah. Hmm.
Now, we are going to be more self-healing all the way through life if we will accept the different passages on the bus. So we're going to say to the inner part, that part says, it's so disappointing to me. The one thing I really, really wanted was a kind, gentle, very gentle man for father. And I thought he was going to be that, and he's not that. He's still got that edge, although he stopped screaming or whatever. And we say to that inner part, I know that's quite a disappointment. We stop fighting it. Okay. That's a very big part of the healing, because just accepting the sadness and the disappointment that is inevitable in every relationship, because this guy who we wanted to be everything with every advantage, he doesn't exist. He's a mythical creature. Okay. Like I said, we're not exactly Miss Everything either, but it's not possible that he hits all the things in all the right spots 24 hours a day, 70 years straight or something. It's not going to happen. So to acknowledge and accept that we're losing out in some important ways, and to let ourselves hold that part compassionately, helps reduce the bitterness and resentment, because it's like, yeah, I know, I just didn't get that. Okay. And when we let that go, other parts come in and go, yeah, but you got this guy with a great sense of humor. And you go like, yeah, he's funny, and it'll help you when you stop fighting it. It'll help you to make room for the positive.
Wow. And what advice do you have to women in terms of growing because what you're speaking of, it's inspiring this sort of get to place of self-mastery. It's like we're here, everybody's here, or wherever they are, and there's this self-mastery. What is the I'm getting a touch of what the mindset is. Is your advice on how to walk to get closer?
Climb that mountain, I think is
Yeah,
what
yeah,
you're trying to
yeah,
say.
yeah.
Like I said earlier, things hurt until we climb. Okay, so one
In
thing,
what time?
until we make that ascent,
Oh,
we'll
I see.
be in pain.
Mm-hmm.
So the motivation is, first we try to change him, we try to change him, we try to change him. Then eventually, a certain number of decades go by, we give up on that. Okay? And then we're moving towards this higher level automatically of owning the pain and the disappointment, or the resentment and the hurt, whatever it is that's there. And then once we've recognized that it's not going to stop, it's that certain things will continue to be disappointing. And we actually realize the limits. Like we tried to take control. We tried to control him. We tried to tell him how to say it, when to say it, how to speak, how to be. And eventually, like I said, after a certain number of decades, some of us are slower learners than others. We go like, oh, I can't. And now if we really rest in that spot, it's like, this is very sad. This is really sad. Now, before we get sad, we might be really mad, actually. It's like, why? Why, Hashem? Why did you give me this? Like you knew I wouldn't want this. Okay. And so we might spend a time being mad first. Eventually, because if we decide that we're still going to, that we're married and this is it, we have a lot of children by now, by the time we've realized that not everything is going to go our way. And then we're mad and then we're sad. Okay. And now that compassion, it is sad. It is sad that you didn't get the things that were really important to you, some of these things. Okay. And then we rest there for a grieving period, a mourning period. But that we're not going to have that. Like until now, we were running, hoping it was going to come. And at some point, we're like, that's not coming. Okay. And then how are we going to be happy? So then we're going to move to the next level of, I can still be happy. I have a lot of things. Okay. I would have liked that. I would have liked everything to be perfect. I would have liked to have a world with no death, no suffering, no pain, no war. I would have liked a lot of things, okay? But I'm not getting that. But I can still serve Hashem b'simcha. I can still be happy. And I can still make an important contribution to my husband, to my home, to my community, to the world, to everything, even though I'm not getting that. So we're going to move, it's like, we're going to move kind of naturally through this if we don't do anything. Otherwise, we're just going to stay stuck at something, stuck for our whole life at trying to make him better and then dying, okay? Or stuck being mad the whole time, or stuck being depressed the whole time. So the way out of the pain is going through all of it till we get to a point of, it's okay. This is, we have to get a lot closer to Hashem to get to that point where we can say, okay, well, you know something I don't know, and I just have to, it'll have to be okay. I trust you.
That's beautiful. Wow. That's like a healing for grown-ups, it's really, really beautiful. That's your next book. So I'm going to ask you, this is really, really beautiful, beautiful. Like you're lighting a flashlight of our path of where to grow and heal. And it's very, very powerful. I want to ask you, because so many times I've spoken with women, I'm sure you've dealt with in second marriages in your practice. And I feel like that's very edifying. Like I find it sometimes remarkable what a woman who went through the whole a disaster, misery of a divorce and then remarried, and what they learned from it. And so many times they said, if I'd known this before, if I had blah, 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 blah. So taking that collective wisdom from our sisters who went through this, difficulty, can you give us a few pointers on what we can use in our current marriages and for those of you in second marriages, that's also, good. But I'm just saying for people who are like, really like, I have to live with this, Leah and Rebbetzin, I can't get where you're saying, to that place. Can you give us some thoughts on what women, your clients have shared with you from going through it?
I mean, it is interesting that a lot of people think that getting rid of this guy will solve that problem. When they get to like, okay, I can't control him, so he has to go. Okay, instead of just, I'm committed to this and I'm going to go through the anger, the sadness, and the acceptance phases. No, it's like, let's get rid of him. There must be somebody a lot better. Okay. And I'm not sure if this is what you're alluding to, but certainly I've heard from people that, the second guy, if they do act on it to get rid of this source of their pain, what they feel that their husband is, the second guy just has a different way of hurting them, or a different way of being human, a different way of failing, because he is human. Like he can't help it. I mean, he's flawed. We're flawed. The relationship has to be flawed. And statistically, second marriages, whatever, they have a higher divorce rate than first marriages. And third marriages have a higher divorce rate than second marriages. And this is not because people don't want to be happy, but we have new stresses in the second marriage, including, when we're bringing children along into the situation. And yeah, people do say things like, if I would have known, I would have just kept at least my kids in the same house. And, instead of this back and forth thing, and with the ex-husband and his wife and the four parents and the whole nightmare, there are new stresses that are not desirable. And then people, when they hear that, they feel so trapped. You mean then I have to stay with this guy forever? No, you don't have to, right? You can do whatever you want. I'm just saying that if we look at the research and we listen to other people, we're going to say that Walt Disney wasn't right the first time and he wasn't right the second time. Okay, that's like, it's not this palace of joyful ever afters. That's not what marriage or life is supposed to be about. We have serious work to do here, and it's unavoidable. So now sometimes a woman is in a second marriage. It's not her choice. It was that cheating husband. He left her. Okay, and then she has to accept Hashem's particular way of challenging her. She did not sign up for that in those situations, and or she might be the cheating one. I mean, don't want to, say what we're talking to ladies here, so I'm saying, maybe this is what's happened. But car accidents happen that we didn't sign up for. Diseases happen that we didn't sign up for. We do not want this dark side of life, this suffering, and we don't really get it. So we need to improve our faith, because this is beyond intelligence. It doesn't work for us on the cognitive level. So our faith that Hashem knows what he's doing, and that it'll all become clear when we get out of this place full of pain. There's a lot of pain here, but there's also tremendous beauty and joy. And we want to keep opening up the pockets of light. And that's part of moving, towards that redemption. Like, just keep revealing the light, because there's a lot of darkness that seems to be blocking everything.
Wonderful. Wow, this has been very, very good. If you have one last thing you want to share with our audience about how to strengthen their marriage and how to strengthen themselves.
Well, we said a couple of things here. I'll just reiterate. Don't put all your eggs in one basket, okay? Like, it's not your marriage that's going to make you happy. You need to have a little bit of everywhere, okay? So, like, like, to be healthy, you need to exercise, eat well, sleep well, have your head screwed on the right place, and spiritually and mentally and so on, think the right thoughts. To have a good life, you have to do a lot of good things. So let your husband enhance your life, okay? He's not the whole story. Be the best wife you can be. Just like when you're the best mother you can be, it doesn't mean that your kids will turn out to be perfect, because this state of humanness doesn't exist. So your kids will have problems, even though you do a very good job of parenting, but you want to be able to stay with this very difficult, challenged child who is still now a challenging adult. I did the best that I could do. I'm happy with how I approached it. Same thing in the challenging marriage with the challenging spouse. I give myself an A+ for how I handled that. That's a good feeling, not like, well, he was difficult. He was a C, so I was a C- battling him the whole way along, like, or he was a D, so I was a D2, like he made me a D. No, stick to who you are, because you have a unique soul and a unique mission. Hashem made you as an individual. You've got to do the best you can do in every situation.
Beautiful, beautiful. This is a really inspiring, uplifting Sara Chana Radcliffe. Thank you so much for being with us. We're very grateful for your words of wisdom. This is Leah Richheimer for the Ladies Talk Show. Thank you for being with us, and send in your questions, info@Ladies Talk Show. If you have any questions about this, and we'll try and get them answered on the show. Thank you so much for being with us. We really appreciate it. Thanks again.